There are so many social media platforms now. It can feel completely overwhelming to know if you have to use all of them, be everywhere all the time. What's new? What are the tricks? How does the algorithm work? It's a lot. And so in this Word Made Digital tutorial, we're going to talk about which platforms to choose and how to leverage them for your church or charity. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Word Made Digital Tutorials. I'm Joanna LaFleur, and we're going to be talking about should we be on other platforms, which one do we choose, and what do we do once we get there. So let's talk about some of the platforms first, the popular social media platforms that are happening today in 2021. First, we've got Twitter. Twitter is a great platform to use if you're talking about politics, big ideas. Maybe you want to think with thought leaders around issues. It's really also continuing to be popular with men. Then we've got Facebook. Facebook is leaning now into an older demographic. The boomers, the Gen Xers are hanging out there very regularly. And if those are the people in your church community, then you know you're very active there already. And one of the things that seems to get a lot of engagement still on Facebook is Facebook groups. We, in fact, have one ourselves called the Digital Church Facebook group. We'd love for you to join. It's all kinds of information about how to engage with digital within your church community. But I digress. Facebook as a whole is another huge platform that hasn't gone away but is continuing to lean older in its demographic. Then we have Instagram. Instagram is where a lot of the millennials hang out. There's a lot of those Instagrammable moments that we hear about. And Instagram is, I think, trying to find its way. They've introduced stories, they've introduced reels. They've tried to take the best things off of other platforms and integrate them into Instagram. And I think in some ways they've actually lost their way from originally what they were, a photo sharing platform. And now they've said quite explicitly they are no longer a photo sharing platform. In fact, they are all about video now. Video is the name of the game. And so millennials is the main focus group there. We've got a broader range going up and down from sort of the over under 40 crowd, but it's definitely a great place to reach that kind of 25 to 45-year-old person. And then we've got, of course, YouTube. YouTube is the place to do video, long form video, that is, not the short form videos like you'll see in stories and TikToks and Reels. And finally, we have TikTok itself, TikTok being a huge platform for the next generation coming up. I just read something that social media consumers in the UK and in the US apparently now consume more hours of time, more minutes of time on TikTok than they do on YouTube. So we're starting to see a turn again, and all these platforms can feel overwhelming. If you're one person part-time trying to run communications in your church, it can be impossible, and it is in fact impossible to run all these platforms. I remember when the church I worked for, when we opened and created a Facebook account, a Twitter account, an Instagram account, a YouTube account for the church that I worked in, and now there's so many accounts and so many places. How can we possibly manage it all? So in a moment, after we hear from our sponsor, I want to tell you how to do it. Thank you so much to the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities for making this video possible. We wouldn't be able to do it without them. And I don't know if you feel overwhelmed in other areas of church. Not only does church need to be an expert in all things digital and social media, but of course there's things like legal issues and HR requirements, and we need to think about how we're going to give benefits to our staff. And there's so many questions and so many directions. It can be quite overwhelming. It takes a lot to run a church. You know that, you live that every day. And so the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities is here to support you. They can operate like an extension of your team. And right now in the fall of 2021, they have an amazing promotional offer where if you become a member of 4Cs right now, you get membership for this year and for next year included. So we want you to consider, there's a link down below where you can check out what membership is all about, but they can help your ministry in very practical ways. There's churches and charities all across Canada who are using them. The church that I attend is a member of the church, and they've been so helpful with just things like resources for legal and HR questions that come up all throughout the year, maybe unexpectedly, and they have been a resource to us. So I want you to check out cccc.org for more information. Okay, so what do we do about all these platforms? Here is my basic advice for you. The first thing I want you to do is get your real estate on every single platform. And if you hear of a new platform, I want you to get your real estate there too. What I mean by real estate is get your handle as soon as possible. When you hear about the rumblings of a new social media platform coming out, get your handle, your name. In my case, it's at Joanna LaFleur or at Word Made Digital. I want to find those as quickly as I can on those platforms. It's ideal if your real estate, your handle, can be consistent across every single platform. It's not always possible, but if you can, try to make it as consistent and unique to you as possible across every single platform consistently so that people know how to find you on all these platforms. Now that you've locked in your real estate, you have your flag in the ground on all of those different platforms, you don't need to use them all. What I want you to do is put your name, your logo, and your bio on your page on all of those platforms. And then what you can say is, thanks for finding us on Twitter. We're not very active here, but you can find more information about our church, link to website, and link to, say, Facebook and Instagram as the main places that you are active. So what that does is, in the future, if you do have capacity to use that platform, it allows you to go back and you already have your real estate, you already have your name reserved on that platform. But more than that, what it allows you to do is have people tag you. So even if you're not very active on Twitter in your church or charity, it means that people who are active on that platform can tag you if they're talking about you on the platform. So if they're making a tweet and they tag your church because they love the quote from the sermon on Sunday, they can tag you. If someone taps on that, they're going to go to your page. They're going to see that you're not very active on Twitter, but they're going to lead through from that page on your real estate over to your Instagram or your TikTok or your YouTube or your website, wherever you want to send them that you are active. And so it allows people to quickly find you, to celebrate you, to keep talking about you, even in places where you aren't currently active. The third thing I think that does is it allows you to see and track if people are talking about you regularly on a platform. Well, hey, it might be time to actually give some time to that platform. As things ebb and flow, as the demographics in your community change, as popularity of different accounts change, you can track if people are engaging more there than on another thing that you're using. Well, you can move with them, and you already can because you're prepared. You have the real estate. The most important thing to do is, of course, not be everywhere all the time in terms of content producing. You'd just be totally overwhelmed. But choose maybe 2 platforms that you're going to commit and lean into the marketing and reach of people there. By marketing, I just mean telling the story of your church, of your charity, what God is doing there. You want to do that on just a couple platforms. You can't be everywhere. It's too much unless you have a full-time social media and interning team that can do it. Then good on you, go crazy. But if you don't, which most of us don't, we want you to just pick a few and lean in. Be there. Remember, social media is to be social, so we want you to be able to talk back and forth. Give some time every day or every week to do so. I hope that encourages you with some very practical things that you can do to be everywhere and yet also, of course, focus in strategically on just a few places that you think are valuable to reach the people that you're trying to talk to. Thanks so much to the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities for making this video possible, and we'll see you on the next tutorial.